How's it going, guys, and welcome to this video where I'm going to share my most humble of opinion, so humble, about the tyres that I've been running since the summer, the Maxxis DHF that I've been running up front and the Maxxis DHR2 that I've been running on the rear. Let's just drop straight into it, shall we? Don't forget, if you want to get to know me, share my POV rides, see me review some equipment, share some tips and tricks, don't forget to hit that subscribe button below there, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. Ding! That's down there next to the subscribe button as well. Okay, guys, so tyres is fast becoming the subject that I most like talking about. I find it fascinating how different tyres can make riding feel so different. I also really love the fact that tyres are like a necessary consumable that you need for your mountain bike as you do with a car or a motorbike. It's something that you have to buy. You can get it past the missus, no problem, and different types of tyres really make the ride feel totally different, and I really enjoy talking about it. In this case, I'm talking about the Maxxis DH tyres, really the downhill tyres, the DHF and the DHR. Both of these, the DHF and the DHR, came into my life in very different ways. The DHF, I basically needed a new front tyre because my old front one was worn. I went up to the local bike shop. The DHF was the best thing that they had in stock that I'd heard of, and I knew that I wanted to try, so I got that one there. The DHR went on the back, the DHR2 went on the back when I was riding in Bike Park Sierra Nevada, my local bike park up the road there, because I basically punctured beyond repair a Maxxis Aggressor that I had on the back. So that's how I got the DHR on the bike. So they came into my world not through the ways that you would normally buy tyres, where you know what you want to try next or know what your ideal tyres are and you buy them in advance. These are what I could get at the time from the two shops I was, had access to. So after about 400 miles, over 400 miles on the DHF, and I think around about 200 miles on the DHR now, I'm in a pretty good position to talk about the tyres in relation to a guy that's my size, in relation to the terrain that I ride here, in relation to my bike, and in relation to my riding style. So for those of you that have not, if you found my channel through this video, I'm a 100 kilo plus rider. I ride in southern Spain where it's all very loose, very steep. It's enduro. All the riding I do is pretty much exclusively enduro or downhill styles of riding. I'm over 100 kilos, and in this area now, which is quite a well-known guiding spot for Spain, so lots of riders, hundreds and hundreds of riders come here every year to ride with the local guiding companies. So all the Strava segments get absolutely hammered, and I managed to come in kind of the top 10 in a lot of the well-known segments in the area. So I'm pretty fast for a pretty big guy in really loose, steep terrain. So that's what the tyres are up against when I'm riding with them. Without a shadow of a doubt, I've run some semi-slick tyres on before, which I will mention. I'll put a card up there for it now, and I'll put a link in the description below. But I really need robust tyres with lots of grip over anything else. I don't really care about weight. I don't really care about rolling resistance. It's about having strong, gnarly tyres that I won't pinch flat, with real good stopping power, with real good grip on the corners. That's what I'm about when I'm looking for tyres. For those of you that still ride in the UK on cross-country loops and have to battle because there's not much elevation in a lot of places in the UK, if some of you guys might not be able to resonate with this very much because you might have to ride 10 miles to get a mile of descent. That's not what I have to do here. I don't spend hours thumping it on tarmac or trying to climb up fire track or anything like that. I have to do a little bit of that, but my rides, because I get uplifted part of the way, my rides usually consist of about 1,500, 2,000 feet of climbing and about 4,000 or 5,000 feet of descent. And not very much of it is spent climbing up. None of it is spent, in fact, climbing up tarmac, and very little of it is spent climbing up fire track. So there's no compact riding. That's why rolling resistance isn't, I'm not riding on much compacted dirt for any massive amount of miles. So the mileage that I mentioned just now, 400 and 200, that's exclusively enduro riding, and I've also hit 5 or 6 bike parks last year as well on those tyres. So the tyres have had a real good thumping. I'll show some footage of the tyres throughout the course of the video so as you can see the condition that they're in. And as a final note, do consider that I ride in Spain, so I ride in real dry conditions. I've ridden a little bit in wet stuff over the last couple of days because of the snow melting up on the mountains, but 99.9% of the time I'm riding bone dry trails, so I can't really give much feedback as to how these tyres perform in wet, muddy conditions. So first off, let's look at the front tyre. I'm going to read off the phone. So my front tyre is the Maxxis Minion DHF 2.5 inch Exo Protection, which is got that sort of cut resistant sidewall on it. I went for the 2.5 because that's what they had in stock. I could fit a 2.6 on my bike, and that's what I would go for next time if I had the choice, but that's what they had in the shop, so that's what I got. And as it happens, the Exo Protection, which is, it's not a double down or downhill casing, it's the normal thickness sidewall, but the Exo Protect is kind of more tear resistant. So that suits me quite well because the front wheel doesn't really take the impacts as the rear wheel does. I need a downhill casing on the back because of my weight and because of the rocky, stuff that's here, but the front, the Exo Protect is perfect for me. So the first thing I'll talk about is the grip of the Maxxis DHF. It's phenomenal. It's such a massive difference from the tyre that I was running before that, and the tyre that I was running before that wasn't shabby, which was the Maxxis High Roller. But for the terrain that I ride in, it's not just about the high speed cornering and stuff like that. I find myself continually in real steep conditions trying to control my speed, having to go hard over one direction or the other, with it still carrying a little bit of speed. A lot of tyres you find where you come to a steep switchback, you go to turn the wheel out, you go to turn the handlebars, and you just end up going straight forwards because the tyre just starts, skidding and digging in and skidding. The DHF takes a load of that out of the equation. I really love how I can be on steep technical descents, loose stuff, steep switchbacks, put the handlebars over, and the front wheel just goes where I want it to without letting go. It's so confidence inspiring. At the same time, if you want to get at high speeds, lean the bike over. It's also great on flat corners without so much weight on that front tyre, or if you're on sort of like a downhill and you're shifting your weight further backwards, that front tyre just stays, dug in. The DHF has got to be second to none for front tyre grip. It's absolutely amazing for this area that I live in. So in terms of durability, the tyre, as you will have seen in some of the B-roll by now, the tyre is really holding up well for a tyre that's now seen over 400 miles. All I know is that the tyre says Exo Protect, and then it says tubeless ready. So what I don't know about the front tyre is the actual compound. It feels like it's just like a medium hard compound. Not hard, actually, that's an exaggeration, but it's harder than the rear tyre, which is the super tacky compound. But I don't know if they don't label them so well in Europe as they do in the States, but I don't know what the compound is on the front tyre. Perhaps you can help me with that. Leave a comment in the description below. You'll see what the writing is on the tyre there below. If you can help me with that, let me know. But whatever that tyre is made of, you can see that by comparison to the super tacky on the back, the back tyre is going to be wearing quicker, but that front tyre is just lasting me so well. It's still, the sidewall is still in lovely condition, there's loads of tread left on it, and the tyre still seals on the wheel absolutely perfectly. So in terms of durability, the DHF gets a massive thumbs up. And then I better talk about rolling resistance. I know that rolling resistance is as much to do with picking up speed as it is to having to pedal on the flat compacted stuff. Rolling resistance, it doesn't bother me. I can pick up speed nice and quick on not massively steep downhill descents. Yeah, they feel pretty knobbly on tarmac as they would, but I haven't really got a lot to say about rolling resistance. The terrain here is so loose in a lot of places that it's not something I really notice so much. I don't race, so I can't really compare it to anything else in terms of holding really high speed for long periods of times, but I think they're really good on this front. I don't notice too much difference between the setup that I've got now and the high roller front tyre that I had before with like an aggressor back tyre. I think they're brilliant on the rolling resistance side of things as well. And then I'll have to talk about weight as well with the DHF. It's a downhill tyre, so I'm sure, I've not looked at the figures before this, I'm sure it weighs a bit by comparison to some other more XC orientated tyres, but you don't get that robustness, you don't get the same knobbly kind of tread on it. I'm sure it's heavier than some tyres, but I don't notice it. The bike still feels nice and light to me. I don't have a problem with it at all, so on the weight it gets a big thumbs up from me as well. Okay, and so that brings us on to the rear tyre, which I'm going to read again. We know it's the Maxxis Minion DHR number 2. It's actually the 2.4 inch wide super tacky downhill casing. I've done 200 miles on it, again exclusively enduro and downhill style of stuff. I picked that, like I say, in a bike park because my aggressor gave up the ghost. Like I say, they are the super tacky you know, the downhill casing. I think they call it double down in the US. I don't know if that's the difference between the stamping. Again, you might be able to help me in the comments below, but as you'll see on the B-roll footage that I'll put in, you can see it says quite clearly DH casing on it. So I know what it means. It's just like a thicker casing inside the actual tread itself, but I'd be interested to know if it is different between the States and Europe on that front. So if we come on to the grip again first, again, the difference that I noticed, especially between like the semi-slick type things, I ran a Maxxis Minion SS, which is the semi-slick, and then I ran a Schwalbe Rock Razor, and the biggest thing that I noticed straight away was just how good the grip is on this rear tyre. What I really noticed, if I'm honest, more around here is how it's just the braking in the really loose stuff, the steep downhill braking power of these tyres, whereas I just used to skid. These tyres are so much better at stopping the bike. On top of that, I also find because with the steep stuff here, it's not like I ruin the trails, because the trails are so steep, the mountain's always moving, that a lot of the real steep stuff that I ride on the little sort of windy bits, you're skidding with the back tyre. But even when you're skidding, because of the tread on this back tyre, it seems like I've got more control with this tyre, that even when it's in a skid, you can be a little bit pitched over and still have control of it. Like when you're kind of doing the rear wheel skidding with the front wheel steering the way, it works really well on that front even, I think. Yeah, just whether the bike is bolt upright or lent over, that rear tyre is just absolutely superb. And the super tacky casing, I do ride some rocky bits and pieces here and there, and you can really notice that it's great. But if I'm honest, I think personally that a slightly harder compound for the tread would be better, because it's just a bit overkill for me here. Like, you know, I don't ride quite enough rocky stuff, and I am noticing that the back tyre is wearing quite a lot quicker than the front tyre. Obviously it will do that anyway because it's the rear versus front tyre, but it is definitely down to how much softer the compound is as well. So that's the only thing I would change perhaps. But the grip is just second to none once again in terms of what I've ridden on so far. So that takes us on to durability. Obviously that downhill casing just makes the canvas inside the tyre much heavier, so I don't pinch flat, which is massive for me. In this area here, I was blowing out sidewalls left, right and centre until I dropped onto this tyre and was lucky enough to have a downhill casing version in the shop. It's absolutely superb. The sidewalls are just rock solid. You can run, even I'm starting to be able to run lower pressures, like down as much as 28, 26, which probably doesn't seem like a lot to you guys, but I'm probably a lot bigger than you as well. So I really like the durability of these tyres. I've not felt the rim hardly at all when I set the pressure right. It's been perfect on that front. Like I said just now, I would probably settle for a slightly harder compound, but I can't mark the tyres down for that. They are a super tacky tyre, which gives you loads and loads and loads of grip on the rocks and stuff like that. And I'm still going to get sort of 300 plus miles out of them, so I can't knock them at all really. So we'll touch on rolling resistance really quick. Again, it's not something that I really care about or that really affects my riding. Rolling resistance feels fine to me. It's a much gnarlier tyre than what I've ridden before with the semi-slicks, but I still find them fine, absolutely fine. Obviously, when you're running a super tacky, extra soft type compound, when you hit tarmac, it feels like you're ripping the back tyre to shreds. That's what it feels like to me anyway. So it's definitely don't go for a soft compound or a super tacky. Obviously, if you're spending any amount of time on tarmac, obviously you would never use that kind of tyre for that kind of riding exclusively. But if you want like a gnarly downhill tyre, but you know that your local route includes a couple of miles of tarmac, then perhaps I wouldn't go for this tyre. But rolling resistance, fine, I reckon. And then weight, again, it's a downhill casing, so it's going to be slightly heavier again. It's a downhill tyre, so it's going to be heavier again. They're both folding tyres, so they're a bit lighter on that front. But again, I just don't notice the extra weight by comparison to old tyres that I've ridden. I really don't. So I personally think that they get a thumbs up on that as well. The power for the sort of durability and performance to weight ratio, you can't really complain about the weight at all, I don't think, with these tyres. So that's it about the individual tyres. I can't recommend them highly enough. The Maxxis Minion DHF, depending on, you know, compound and sidewalls and stuff like that, and the casing thickness and stuff like that, is all down to your own personal preference, riding style, whatever. But as a combo, the DHF and the DHR2 are by far the best set of tyres I've ever had, without a shadow of a doubt. I'm not going to be putting the same tyres on my bike for the sole reason that some of my subscribers have asked that I run a Schwalbe Magic Mary and try that out. So I'm going to be switching up my tyres to a Schwalbe set just because I've been requested to do that. If I wasn't, I would settle on these tyres. The only thing I would do differently, and I'm going to read this again, is my front tyre, I would go for the Maxxis Minion DHF 3C Max Terra 2.6 inch. Because it's a nice looking chunky tyre, that one, and it just makes the difference between the front and the rear tyre slightly more. I'd be running a 2.6 up front and a 2.4 on the rear then. That would be one sweet set of tyres. But as I do want to test some Schwalbe tyres for you with that Magic Mary, I'm quite excited about this Magic Mary because apparently a lot of the downhill racers and enduro racers, even though they're sponsored by other tyre brands, they run the Magic Mary and black out all of the logos and stuff on it, so I'm really interested in this. But I'll be running up front a Schwalbe Magic Mary Super Gravity Addix Soft 2.35 inch, and on the rear I'll be running a Schwalbe Hands Dampf Super Gravity Addix Soft 2.35 on the back. Another thing you might be able to help me with here is, it looks to me off the Schwalbe website that you don't have any choices of bigger tyres than that. 2.35 inch seems to be the biggest that I can find on the Schwalbe website for this side of the world. Let me know if that's any different for you on your side of the pond, wherever you are. That's about it for this review. My rating for these tyres is an absolutely, no doubt, resounding 10 out of 10 for the combo. The only reason that I'm changing to Schwalbe, and I'm really nervous about this change, is simply because you guys have requested it, and because of the fact that that request is backed up by how much a lot of people praise the Magic Mary. So I'm looking forward to testing that tyre, but I am quite nervous to be moving away from a set of tyres that I found that I love so much. If it wasn't for the fact that I'm a bit interested in the Schwalbe Magic Mary and that you guys want to hear a review about it, there's no way I'd be changing. I think that this is the perfect tyre setup, and I absolutely love this tyre combination. And that's it, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give me a little thumbs up, comment below there, subscribe if you dare. Yeah, thanks a lot for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next video on your bikes.